Fine. Good afternoon, all. So today we'll start off with functions in VBA. So we all know generally when we talk about a function, function is again a named block of code which performs some task and always returns you a single value output. Okay. Okay. It says a function is a group of reusable code which can be called anywhere in the program. Okay. This eliminates the need of writing the same code over and over again. This will enable the programmers to divide a big program into a number of small and manageable functions. Okay, so a VBA function can take the input parameters, it can take the input from the user and always returns a value. Okay, so it can always return a value. So that means it always returns the value of any data type. It can be integer, string, okay, boolean, or any of this one, but always returns a value. Fine. So I was telling like this was the in Excel we have seen a lot of functions. Sum is a function, average is a function, VLOOKUP is a function, if is a function. So when you look into this particular function, what it does is, okay, it takes some set of parameters and it returns you an output. See, when it comes to sum, it can take any number of input and returns you one value. Whereas in the case of if, it takes three parameters and returns you one Boolean output, is it either true or false? Fine. And then you talk about VLOOKUP, again, it takes some 4 to 5 different parameters and returns a value. There are some mandatory parameters. There is some optional parameters. Yeah, we'll look into that. How do we create a function with the parameters, with the optional parameters, okay? And how do we handle the output of that? So now, see, all this time, what we were seeing was the subroutines, fine. So we are seeing with the procedures, that was nothing but it was defined inside the sub and end sub. Now the function is something which is defined in the block code called as function. It starts with the keyword as function and it ends with the keyword as end function. Fine.
Okay.
A function will be followed with the name of the function. So whatever the name you want to give for that particular function. So it might be like, you know, I want to say do an addition of two numbers. I might have a function called as add. Okay. So any name you can give it. Okay. And then, okay, so if I'm doing addition of two numbers, so the parameters is going to take like, you know, A as integer, B as integer, something. So the parameters, what it is taking. So it can take optional 0, 1 or multiple parameters. You can take any number of parameters. And you can see I'm opening the two brackets here and closing it over here. And after closing the bracket, I've defined this as return type. That means what is the output it is going to return. Fine. So that means a function, okay, will have this particular thing here called as return type. What type of output it returns. Okay. So example I've just given this here. So it is defined like this. Function add num. So that means add nums is the name of this particular function what I have given. So this is my custom function. So this is taking this A as integer, B as integer. That means it is taking these two inputs and it is returning the output of type double. So that means whichever the environment it calls it, there it passes the output, which is the output of type double. Okay, and the output what you're passing. So we are returning with this keyword. The name of the function is what add nums. So here I say add nums is equal to A plus B. That means whatever the input it has received, it'll do the sum of that, and the sum of that will be returned back, okay, to the calling environment which has called. So we don't use the return keyword, but that particular output we pass it to the name of the function. Fine. Okay. Let us see like how do we write this particular function. So let me open my Excel. Okay. Okay. So I've just written the function over here. Okay. So when you look into this particular thing, I've just written the function which is named as add nums. It is taking A as double, B as double. That means it is taking two input of type double, and you can see as double. That means this is a return type. Okay. This is the what type of output. So that means it is taking the input of type double and two inputs of type double and returning an output of type also double. So now whatever the input is given, I'm trying to do the addition and that it is returning to the name of the function. Fine. This is how we create this particular function. Now to invoke this function, how do we call this function? So now to call this particular function, so like in the case of macros, we used to call it with the help of a keyboard shortcuts, or we used to go to the view, check the list of the macro and then call. So here to call, I just use this add nums is equal to, so we just say add. So you can see whatever the name we created, it is here, add nums. Okay, and then provide two values here because it takes two numbers. Yes, it does addition of this and shows. Or like I have some numbers here, so I just want to do the addition of these two numbers. I can just say add nums, and then I say it has to do the addition of this, comma, this. So that means since it is taking two input parameters, I'm providing two parameters. That two parameters can be a direct value, or it can refer to a cell, or it can even be an expression there. Okay, expression in the sense I can also say add nums of this. I say D2, D10 into 2 or something. So that is going to be 46 plus 56 into 2. So it will be 46 plus 56 into 2 is 112, is it? Yep. So 112 plus 146, it is going to be 158. Yes. Clear? All fine?
Yes, Sadiq sir. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So this is how you create. So that means you want to create your own custom functions. We know that Excel has provided you with hundreds of functions. Okay,
Right.
so there are a lot of functions. Okay, and we know the what is say advantage of using the functions. So you want to do any kind of a calculations when you're doing with the help of the functions, it simplifies our job. Okay, just an example is the average. So if I want to find an average of a given range of data, so if there is no function done, first I need to sum up all those things, do an addition, then divide by, I need to know the count. Okay, so then divide by the total count. So I need to do this multiple things and all. So I can just do say is equal to sum of, sorry, average of the range. It just does the summing and then mean dividing by the count. Fine. So when it comes to the complex functions, like it's a PMT functions, which was used for calculating the EMIs and all these things. So which has to take the various input parameters. What is the loan amount? What is the interest rate? And what is the time duration and all these things. And if I have to manually sit and do this particular calculation, it takes pages of code. Okay, you need to write a lot of tasks to do this particular thing. So with the help of the function, you just provide this input. It just behind the screen, it is doing a calculation and it is returning back to you. Fine. Yeah. Let us do one thing, like I want to have a function to calculate a simple interest. Fine. So I just say function. I just say my simple interest. Fine. Okay, I've just given this as a name of the function. And if I have to calculate simple interest, I need three parameters. No, I need to know what is the principal amount, time, and the rate of interest. I just say principal amount as say double, time I just say as double or integer. Fine. And I say the rate of interest as say double again because it can have a decimal value, and the whole output I'll just say return as double. Fine. So I'm trying to create my own function here called as my simple interest. So we're just seeing how do we do this. Okay, so now after doing this, so what is that it has to return? Okay, it has to calculate the principal into time into the rate of interest whole divided by 100. Fine. This is how you calculate the simple interest. Okay, so now this particular calculated output, I want it to return back to this particular function. So what I will do, I just select this particular function. I just say name of this function is equal to this. Okay. So that means when I invoke this, it is going to take these three parameters. Okay. So whatever the input you have done, okay, here it is doing this calculation. That calculated output you are returning back to the name of the function. Right. So now to call this particular thing, so what I will do is, so I can just have it in a separate sheet. Any sheet where you can just call this one.
Okay. Sadiq, just 1 second. Did we say that today was a holiday?
It did not
because coach is in our impression that it was off today.
So we're doing this particular, how do we calculate this particular thing? Okay, I have just created a function called as my simple interest. So it is taking this particular set of parameters. Okay, it is going to take this particular input and it is going to return this particular output. So I think he's just calling. I'll just click the call. So now see, like I have created this function. Now you want to call this particular function. So what is that we do is I just say is equal to, I just say my simple interest and then provide the values. So example, the principal amount is say something around 25,000. I say for the duration of say 5 years, and if the rate of interest is around 9%, I just provide this input. Okay. So okay, and you can see you're getting the output. Okay, so you can have this thing like this. I say principal, say time, and the rate of interest. I say so something around 25,000. I say time is for 5 years. I say rate of interest is something like 9.5%. Sure. So you want to calculate a simple interest. So I just say, so you want to calculate a simple interest. I don't want to sit and write the formula because you don't have a ready-made function to calculate a simple interest. No? So I can just say is equal to my simple interest. Okay, and then just provide this input. Fine, this, and then I just say this. Clear? And if I do any changes here, so see if I say I'm just shifting this to say 7 years. So in 7 years, this is the kind of calculation. What happens? Fine. Okay, this is simple. Okay, so I think you understood what is the use of this particular function also. It's like, you know, you want to create your own custom function. So even though Excel has provided you with hundreds of functions, but still I want to have a function which is going to, for my specific requirement, for my specific need. In that case, we go for our own custom function. Fine. Okay. I think so. Yeah. So now what we do is, so I have just created this particular function. It is working. So now I want to have some kind of optional parameters. See, now what happens, you know, I need to pass all the 3 parameters to get this output. Fine. I can also have what we call as optional parameters. What do you mean by optional parameters? See, generally, like, you know, when you're writing this particular function is equal to VLOOKUP. So in this VLOOKUP, what happens is lookup range is optional. Range lookup. That is either we say true or false is optional. If I'm not providing this particular lookup range, so what happens? It takes the default value as true. Fine. So if I say 0, it is going to be false, or I need to explicitly say. Fine. So the same way, now what happens is if I'm not providing the rate of interest, I want to take a default rate of interest as say 9%. Fine. So in that case, so that means I want to make only 2 parameters mandatory. The last one can be made as option. Now, if I pass 2 parameters, so now you can see I'll get an error. Okay, so that means this function is expecting 3 parameters, but I'm providing only 2 parameters. Where is the third parameter? What it has to take. So I want to make that particular third parameter as an optional parameter. In that case, what I will do is I'll just make this as optional.
Okay.
Okay, so when I may give this particular thing as optional, so that means if I'm not providing, I want this to take some default value. So R is double, I just say is equal to something value. Okay, so now we can see I'm just working with these 2 parameters. So if I give this 2 parameters, you can see still I'm getting the output. So what is happening is, so it is taking this principal this time, and the rate of interest is taken the default value, say 9%. So even though if you say 12% or whatever it does not matter here. So now I say if I pass 3 parameters, you can see if I pass 2 parameters working, if I pass 3 parameters, still it will work. If I pass 3 parameters, it is taking the actual rate of interest that has been provided over here. If I'm passing only 2 parameters, so it takes the default rate of interest.
Okay.
Fine. So we can make this as, we can also have with the optional parameters. One thing when you're giving the optional parameter is, the optional parameters has to be given from the left hand side. Sorry, right hand side. The rightmost parameter will be the optional parameters. So you can also have multiple optional parameters. So all the optional parameters should be from the rightmost. So that means I cannot have an optional parameter, then a mandatory parameter. That will not be accepted. So that means I cannot set this particular as an optional parameter, but this is mandatory parameter. It is not going to happen in that way.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Francis. Okay. So always the optional parameter has to be given on the rightmost.
Right.
Okay. It can have one or more than one optional parameters. Fine. Okay. That is what that is. Yeah. So we can see like I've just modified this something like this. Okay, so I've created my own function here called as simple interest. So which is taking the principal as double, the time as integer, optional r as double. So that is the rate of interest is double and I have made as optional. I have not given a default value. So now, okay, so when I'm running this, if r is 0, that means if I have not given any value, so that means r will be taken as a, since it's a double based on the numeric data type, it'll get the default value as 0. So I say if the value of r is 0, that means if you have not provided r, then I'm trying to provide this particular default value in the code here. Okay, so I've given the code as say 9.25 is the default value. If the optional parameter has been provided, it'll take the p into t into r, the actual parameter what has been provided. It takes that value and it gets divided and it'll show you the output. Fine. So this is again for calculating the simple interest. I just say is equal to SI. So there is no SI function in Excel. Okay, to calculate a simple interest. Okay, so just go there and then I just say 3 parameters. So if I pass 2 parameters, yeah, it will work. So third parameter will, so in that case, what happens? This value is not provided, so it has gone with 0. So if the value of rate of interest is 0, then it is implementing this particular formula. Okay, so if I say comma this, it is providing me with the value, but that has been provided, say 12%. Okay. Then similar ways, I've just done some more functions here. So when you look into this particular function to calculate the area, okay, area of an object, so a shape. So it is taking 2 parameters here, length and width. See, if I have to calculate the area of a square, we just say 12 square. So we just give only one parameter. So when I give only one parameter, the second parameter is missing. So in that case, so it has to calculate it has to multiply L into L. So if I provide length and width, so it has to calculate length into width. So I say something like, if I'm calculating the area of a square, so I'll be providing only one parameter. But if I'm giving the area of a rectangle, I need to provide the length and the width. Fine. So in that case, what I have done here is, see, I have created a function called as area, which is taking length as double and width as variant. So that means width can be provided anything. So if it is null, don't worry. So let it take it as null value. Okay. And the return type is your double. That means output is going to be a calculated value thing. Now in my code, so I'm just writing like this, if is missing. So that means if the width is missing, there is no value in this particular width. In that case, then I say calculate the area is nothing but your length into length. So whatever the length is there, it is just going to multiply the same length and then it returns the area. So something like area of a square. If I give 10, it is going to be 10 into 10, 100. Okay, so if I provide the length as well as the width, in that case, your area will be calculated as length into width. Fine. So like, to invoke this particular function, so I just say is equal to area. Okay. Fine. So I just say 12. So it is going to give me as 12 into 12, 144. If I say this as 12 by 5, so 12 5 is a 60. Fine.
Sir, I think the screen is frozen. Can't see. Yeah, now it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, fine. How do we get this particular parameters? How do we calculate? So we can implement all the if functions, the loops, and all these things can be implemented within this particular functions.
Sir,
Fine.
one question.
Yep.
So in PTR 25,007 and 12, right?
Yeah.
So in the if you remove any one, like let's say you don't have the R,
Yeah.
and R is optional, right? So
Yeah.
not the immediate last example, but before that,
Yeah.
if we click on all the three, um, let's say SI, that six
Has
G,
given all
yeah,
the three values here.
all the three, yeah. So it's calculating based on the
So
if
now it
R
has
is there
taken
or not.
25,000 and then
Yeah,
time it has taken 7, then R it is null there. So it is empty. So it is provided empty. So when it is empty, then the value of R is going to be 0. So in this function, we have told when the value of R is 0, if the value of R
yeah.
is 0, okay, do this particular calculation. So do this
Mm-hmm.
calculation.
Okay.
So the calculation is the actual P, whatever the first parameter, what you provide. See,
Mm.
in this, so this is my first parameter. The first parameter will go to the principal. Fine.
Right,
And the second parameter, G3, will go to time.
right.
And just say the third parameter will go to the optional parameter.
Optional.
Fine.
Okay.
So now the optional R is actually empty. So now if it is
Empty.
empty, the value of R is going to be 0. When the
0.
value
Okay.
of R is 0, then what it is doing, it is taking whatever the principal was there, whatever the time was there, it is
Mm.
multiplying that. But
Mm.
the rate of interest, it is taking this particular static value,
Okay.
9.25. Fine.
Yeah.
Now, if you have provided some value here,
Mm.
okay, if you're provided, so then what happens, R is given with some value. So R is
Right.
not equal to 0. When it is not equal to 0, it is doing this. So this actual principal time and the R is getting this value too. Okay, that is how it is.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so that's fine. So now take an example. Okay, I want to calculate. See, we have this particular function called as a weekday. Is it weekday of today? Fine. So what weekday will do? Weekday will give me a day of the week in the number. Yeah. You have
Correct.
this particular function in Excel, okay, called as a weekday. Okay, see, we know this today. We know this function in Excel
Right.
today. So
Yeah.
today will give me the current date.
Date.
Fine.
Mm.
We have this particular function called as month. Month will tell me from this particular date, or if I say month of today, so it will tell me as 4. That is, it is telling we are in the which month. Fine. Now, if I say weekday of today, so weekday of today will tell me we are in which day of the week. Okay, it is telling again 4. So that means, so Sunday is 1, Monday is 2, Wednesday is 3, Thursday is 4. So based on that, it says we are in the 4th day of the week. Fine. Now
Mm-hmm.
people always have the confusion. Like, see, we consider Monday is the first day of the week. So
Mm.
then we are in the 3rd day of the week. Why it is giving 4? Okay. So now I want to write this in English. That is the calendar days. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay. I want to create a function for this.
Okay.
So how will we do it? Okay. So I can just create a function here called as sub week name. Okay. So I'll just take the function as week name, which is going to take an input of type number, no? Weekday as integer. Fine. So that means
Okay.
based on this integer, it has to tell me the English name. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm creating a function called as a week name. Okay. Might be, or instead of week name, I say it's a day name. Fine. That sounds better. I'll say I want to create a function called as a day name based on the weekday. That is which day of the week you have given. So now it has to return the output as string.
Right.
Fine. So now what we will do is, sorry, it should be function, is it? So when it is sub, you cannot have a return type. So that is what it is. Fine. So now what I will do is, we need to check what is the value of WD. So what is that? How do we check here? So I'll say if, okay, weekday is equal to 1. So I'm trying to check whatever the input has been provided. If the value of that is 1, then I want to return into this particular name of the function. So that means the name of the function will get the value as Sunday.
Right.
Fine. So if it is not 1, then I say else if weekday is equal to 2, then okay, if it is 2, then I just say day name
Day name.
is equal to say Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just have a similar kind of thing for Tuesday, for Wednesday, for Thursday, for Friday, for Saturday. If it is 2, if it is 3, then it is going to be Tuesday.
Yes.
I say if it is 4, then I want to say Wednesday. If it is 5, then I want to say it is Thursday.
Right.
Then if it is 6, then I want to say it as Friday. If it is 7, then it is Saturday.
Right.
Fine. Yeah, something like this. So now what you do is, okay, I want to get this output here. So I just say is equal to, I want to get the name of the day. I just say day name is equal to this.
Right.
So if should have a closing with end if, no. So yep. So day name says Wednesday, or I can just write it like this: is equal to day name, okay, of, so today. Sorry, week.
Okay.
Say week day of today. Wednesday. So what it is trying to
Okay.
do in this particular function is, today will get me the current date. From that day, we are trying to know what is the weekday it is. So that weekday will give you in the numbers, will not be, it's a very confusing thing. So that
Right.
number is given as the input for the day name, and based on that, I'm trying to get the name of the day.
Got it. Okay.
Fine. So you can use all the logics, whatever we have learned till now, the iterative, the conditional statements, and all these things to derive the results. So here, the mainly thing is it can take any number of inputs and always returns an output. Okay. So we saw how do we have optional parameters, also how do we use a conditional statement. Also, that is what we do it in the functions. Fine. Any questions?
Sir, Anil here. So if I have integers here, like number instead of string, so let's say I can do more than less than also, right?
Yeah. So yeah, if it is a range of values you want to compare, if the
Yeah.
gradings you want
Yeah.
to give, if the value is between the slabs you want to give, so you can use
Uh-huh.
yeah, here you can use this between this and this.
Okay.
So you can use that. In the case of select, I cannot use the range. In the case of if, I can use the range.
Okay.
So if I'm doing the same thing with the select, what is that I do? We just say select. I'm trying to do the same thing with this. I just comment this. Case 2 is, I just say Monday. So if I say 3, so it should be Tuesday. So if it is 4, so it is Wednesday. If it is 5, so I want to say this as Thursday. If it is 6, so I say it is Friday. Then
Okay.
7, then so I'm just doing the same thing with the this one. is returning the same thing. If I just say is equal to weekday, sorry, day name, no? Day name of say 5, it just tells me this Thursday. Day name of 5, this will tell me as Thursday. Yeah. So like, the same example as just what I did with the if, I'm just using with the case. So in the case of case, we can look only for the exact matches. So in the case of if, we can go with the ranges also here.
Right.
Okay. So you can use either of the statements, whatever the statement till now we have studied in the VBS, all those things can be used.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Francis and Fiza. So calculate the grade. So the grade will be calculated based on the marks. Say above 90, we say it as A plus, no?
Sir, in this functions, I can use active cells value also, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can read the value from the active cell. So what is happening is, so when you are calling, we are referring to the cell. It is taking the default cell value itself, no?
Correct. We don't need
Okay.
to. Yeah.
And you don't have to. And when it is returning back, it is returning back to the cell where the equal to sign has been returned.
Got it. Yeah.
So there is no necessity of using this offset
Yeah.
or range or active or any this one.
Yeah. Sir, can you give an idea how we can achieve this? You said it, but just a little.
The voting this one, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, see, it was like this. I just say function voting eligibility. And you're going to return as a string. Okay.
Yes.
Or we can even look for the marriage eligibility. Like say for females it is 18 and for males it is 21. So in that case, I need to take two input. One is the gender and other one is the age. Okay. So here we will see voting is common for both, no, male and female. Voting ke liye.
Correct.
For marriage it is different, no?
Yes.
Yeah. So if it is a marriage eligibility, I need to take two parameters. That is, I need to take the age and the gender. So then we need to use the if. If the gender is above this, okay, if the gender is equal to female, then check the age is above this. If it is male, then the age should be above this. Only then it is eligible. Okay, so here what I do is I say if I say age is greater than or equal to say 18, I say then, so fine. I want to return. So when it is returning, so it is going to return back into the name of the function what we have done. I just say is equal to eligible. Okay. If not, I see. I see. If will close with the and if. That's it. So
that's all.
That's all.
I made it so complicated there.
Yep, okay. You made it complicated. I hope everybody did in the same way, no? All of them. And okay, just refer to this particular cell. So I say if this cell value is fine. I think all I've done in this particular way, is it? Francis?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, Sadiq sir.
Okay. 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 Is that simple? That's what I said. Like, if it is a gender, I need to check. I need to take two parameters, and then I say gender is this, and then do this.
Sadiq sir, I was just trying to do with the gender, but how do we do it? I was
Oh,
not able to do.
okay. Okay. Fine. So I just want to look for a marriage eligibility. Is it? So okay, marriage eligibility. So I need to take this two thing here. I say gender as string. Fine. And gender is a string, age is an integer, and the whole output is going to be eligible or not eligible as a string. No? So I need to check two things here. So one is I need to check if gender is equal to male. Okay. And it has to check with both the conditions. So we need to use this and the age is above, say, 20. So in this case, what will we do? Yeah. If it is male and age is about 21, then we say eligible. Okay.
Right.
So yeah. If not, so we can use the else if. I say gender
Equals to female.
So what I've done here is, okay, I have just trying to find out what is the gender. Okay, first thing I'm trying. So since the function was supposed to be like this, so I want to calculate this eligibility list based on two criteria. So one is the gender and another one is the age.
Mm.
So first thing is I'm trying to find out what is the gender. So if the gender is male, then okay, then go and check whether the age is above 21. If the gender is male and also age is about 21, that means if it satisfies both the condition, okay, then we say this output as eligible. So if it satisfies this condition, but it does not satisfy this condition, then I say, sorry, not eligible. Fine. Now, if this is not satisfied, then I'll go and check whether it is satisfying this criteria. If it is satisfying this criteria, then I'll go and check whether it is also satisfying this criteria. So now if it is gender is female and the age is above 18, then it says eligible. Now, if it is not satisfying, okay, this or this, okay, that means it is that means if it is not satisfying this, only in that case it will come for this. Fine. And if the age is not satisfied, okay, less than 18, then it will throw me the message as not eligible. So that is what exactly is happening. So here I'm just providing only two parameters, the gender and the age, and based on that, it is trying to give me the output. So if I
Sadiq
say the
sir.
same thing as male, so you can see it is not eligible. So whereas female says greater than or equal to 18, we can just give it. Fine. Sorry.
Sadiq sir, for me, little confusion around else if, when to add else if.
Okay. When to add else if. Okay. So else if is, see, it is something like here I have used a nested ifs. I've used a nested ifs. So first thing is I'm trying to check with multiple conditions. Okay. So if one condition is not satisfied, I don't want to say else. I want to check for the second condition. Okay. So now see, this is the main level. This is one level. So inside that there is another levels of conditions. Fine.
Right.
So now, when do you use the else if? So first I am trying to check whether the gender is male. Okay. There are two possibilities. There are possibilities as it can be satisfied. It might not be satisfied. If this is not satisfied, so then I am trying to go with the else if. Okay. In the case of else if, okay, so that means if it is gender is not male, so if it is not male, see, there might be possibilities. If it is not male, directly I can say this. I can write this else and the program will work. Okay. But there'll be a question like, if it is other than male and female, there is a third category. So in that case, what it is? Okay,
Okay.
so the possibilities of questions might arise. So now the program in this case, it will work, but I'm just looking from that point of view. Okay,
Okay.
so there can be other than, or the user has entered as MAN, okay, which is neither a male or female, or if has given something else, okay, or thing.
Okay.
So here, it will check for this. If it is satisfied, it is fine. If it is not male, then further I want to go and check whether, if it is not male, then I
Another
want to check for
condition.
another condition.
Okay.
I want
Got
to check another condition, I've used the else if.
Okay, so
If
if
I
you
don't
don't
want
have,
to check a condition,
yeah,
like example, if I don't want to check this particular condition, so in that case, I can write like this. See, now this
Okay,
also will work fine. So you can see this will work. But okay, the gender might have a list of another category. Okay, what is the third category called as? Unknown or I think.
unknown, I think it's
Yeah.
called, yeah.
So in that case, it will not know what to do. You can see it says eligible, even if it says 12. Okay, or if you say even say any this one, so it doesn't know. Okay, what? So that means what is happening is it is going to this part and this is executing. Other than male, it is checking. So that means if I say 18, okay, it says eligible. So that means what is happening? Other than male, it is trying to give this. Okay, so I want to check with multiple criteria here. So in that case, if the first condition is not satisfied, then I want to further check another condition. So that is where you're using the else if. So here you can see I'm not using else if. That means if it is above 21, I say eligible. If it is not above 21, I don't want to further check. So it is clear that, okay, it is less than 21. So then I want to give directly this. Got it? So if I don't want to check for the second condition, okay, use the else. So if the condition is not met, you want for the second condition to be checked. So in that case, we use the else if.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And you can extend this for the third level. So I can just say else if. And for the unknown, I don't know what is the criteria for the age. So I can just go else if just say gender is equal to, say, what is that? Unknown.
Yeah.
Then what is that you want to do?
Refer to the constitution, something.
Yeah. Yeah. So those kind of things can be done.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so you can create a function for a currency converter.
Okay.
Okay, so like, if I have this INR, say we have a dollar. Okay, so now the value of dollar, no? So something, say example, say 75.6. I don't know what is the current rate. So now if I say the INR is say 200. If I just give the dollar. Yeah. So now I'll do one thing. I'll just give only the dollars. Okay, if I just say I have $200, I want to find what is the INR. I want to know what is the rupee of this. How many rupees? Consider dollar is something like, example, say 75. The value of dollar is how much? 75, no? 0.6 or something. You can take it. So it has to return me what is the rupees value of this particular thing, rupee value.
Right.
A conversion function or something. What is the dollar value today?
$76.19.
Oh my God. Dollar value 76.19. Indian rupee is very bad. So function to calculate the currency converter, we can say, or any this one. Oh, it has touched 77.6, huh?
It had touched 77. Oh, okay.
77 almost.
Whoa.
77.6, that is almost 78. My God. So you should get the output like this, no? 15238.0.
Hmm.
So that means if I give the values here, it has to tell me what it is. Fine.
Correct.
So all the certification exam price, everything will be higher if you're taking the
Oh,
certification.
yeah. Correct.
If I have to calculate the age of a person, okay, we're doing there. I just did this. So age of a person. So what I've done here is going to take the input as date, okay, DOB as date, and return as a double. So the age function is year of date. See, there is a built-in function called as a date. From there, year, it is going to extract only the year. So date function gives me the current date, no? Okay, like say 8 April 2020. From there, I'm trying to extract the year. So this is going to be 2020 minus, I'll say year of DOB. Whatever the date of birth is being provided as the input, it takes the year of that. So when you subtract, it will try to find out what is the age. Okay. To
Okay.
call this particular thing, so I have just written it over here, something like this. So this is a date of birth here. Okay, I've just given one date of birth. So and then I just say is equal to, what is the name of the function? Say age in years. Fine.
Yes.
And then I'll give this particular value. So that means this will this whatever the date you have. Okay, this date will be provided the input of to the DOB. Okay, from the DOB, it is trying to extract only the year. So the year it will be extracted is 1978. And here, the year of date. So today's date is 8th April 2020. So, but we are extracting only the year. So it is going to be 2020. So when you subtract this, 2020 minus 178, so it is going to be 42.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, this is my age. Okay.
Sir, the one I've pinged you.
What? Yeah, I'll just.
No, don't talk. I mean, I'm just asking. Logic is there, no? Like at least I'm able to understand. Or
Dollar as double, INR as double. See. It is one simple thing. Is we are taking only one input. We are not taking a dollar. Yeah, we are just
okay.
taking only dollar. We are not taking the INR. INR is the output what we are going to return. So your function has to take only one parameter.
Okay.
So it has to take dollar. It doesn't have to take the INR as double is there. No, it is not needed. So then currency converter is equal to, so you take the dollar into 76.19 because 76.19 is a value what we have extracted from the net now.
I'm sorry. I initially did that. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
So got it, Anil?
Yes, sir. Doing it.
Okay. Uh, any answers?
Right. So yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. So yeah, we'll go it slowly like this itself.
Okay.